During the webinar we did together a few days ago, you presented a use case for internal fraud detection using graph technology. So my question was, what pushed the client in the first place to look for a new solution to handle internal fraud?
This client wishes to remain anonymous for obvious reason. This client has a well-founded concern regarding one specific international subsidiary. They want to straighten control over this subsidiary, but without alerting it. As a result, they thought to implement a digital process that would enable them to conduct in-depth investigation autonomously.
Okay. And in following this, why did graph seem particularly pertinent for your client? When you set up the project for them, why was graph technology chosen?
To begin with, our clients were not familiar with the graph-based approach. We were able to convince them that graph models are particularly well suited for fraud detection context. Indeed, graph models make it possible to handle heterogeneous data and connect them with one another. And the main challenge of advanced fraud detections lies precisely in identifying multiple weak signals, which, when combined, form a body of evidence suggesting potential fraud.
That sounds absolutely right. It's the value that we see on graph. That's perfect. What are the most interesting things that you learned setting up this internal fraud investigation tool? What are your key takeaways?
There are two challenges in this type of project. The first one is to build a model that is as closely aligned as possible with the needs of the fraud team. While we always encounter invoices, payments, bank accounts, and similar elements, each organization has its own processes and business-specific tasks that we must be thoroughly understood and properly modeled. And the second challenge is to access to data, namely accurately identifying where the relevant information is located within the client's information systems.
Thank you. I'm going to ask you a question because I know that there may be some partners or even customers that are going to look this interview and they'll be really interested in knowing this. But is there anything that you would do differently for a future project like this?
Not really. We clearly identified the two challenges from the outset and conducted several workshops on each of these challenges. This is definitely an approach we would repeat as it enabled us to gain deep understanding of the client's processes. It also helped the client fully appreciate the value of a graph model approach as we progressively model their issues and they increasingly recognize everything the solution would bring.
This having been said, do you see more organizations adopting graph-based solutions for this type of use case for internal fraud?
Yes, I do think that graph technology is moving to the forefront. This is evidenced by the number of participants who attended the two webinars we co-organized. Moreover, there are many use cases beyond fraud. At Ecosys, we believe that data and AI and graph technologies in particular have a major role to play in breaking down organizational silos and are now, I would say, game changer for all cross-functional processes, including innovation, CSR, supply chain, risk management, and more.
We're always talking about how crime in general is getting more and more sophisticated, and therefore the technology needs to be more sophisticated when fighting against it. Is it something that you see in internal fraud? Do you see it becoming more of a challenge these days, both in terms of sophistication, but also in terms of frequency?
Absolutely. I do believe that fraud in general is becoming increasingly widespread and sophisticated. as the threats come from within, organizations are not always sufficiently protected against those internal threats. In many cases, that information would have enabled detections is already available, but that those information are not shared within the organization. This brings it back to a major challenge faced by all large organizations operating more effectively across functions. And I believe that Ecosys and Linkurious together can help organizations break down silos to better address fraud challenges and far beyond.
Thank you, Guillaume.